Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Che. Something I'm really excited about right now is supporting people and building and scaling their small businesses through a weekly business automation mastermind where we're teaching all the geeky stuff, making it simple to just create more time and then support each other as entrepreneurs because many times we're doing it all alone. And I am here with Lauren Dionysius, and she is former registered nurse for 20 years, transitioned into her real soul led purpose business. And she's helping people really understand that journey of motherhood on a deep level from the child's perspective. So, welcome, Lauren.
Thanks, Joe. It's great to be here.
And we're actually joined by Makuna, my main coon here. She wanted to be on the podcast today, so she's gonna hang out with us. Lauren, I'm curious, going from, a long time, it's a lot of work to be a nurse. It's very intense. And you were talking about your transition of how, you started doing things in the beginning, um, and transitioning it over a few years until that soul-led business became your main thing. And I think this is
hmm
really interesting for listeners because many times people think they got to make this gigantic jump that feels really scary. So I'm curious, what was that process like for you?
Yeah, well, I wanted to do the process slowly because I was on my own. I didn't have a backup, I didn't have a partner to support me financially. So the income that I was making, it was like it was all on me. And as someone who likes some stability and security, I didn't want to go from being a nurse, for example, and straight into my business because I wanted that ease and I'd wanted more of a transition between the two. And I didn't get it right. I still feel that I probably left nursing too early. I should have waited until my business was more established before I did.
Mm.
Because not only did I have the challenge of going from an employee where I get my paycheck every 2 weeks, but I was also trying to learn all of this stuff about running a business when I'd been a nurse since I was a teenager. And so it was that mindset shift was really challenging for me. And even though I had the drive, the passion, the focus, the determination, like the action and the doing has never really been a problem for me. I didn't have like that business mind or that business know-how. And in hindsight, I do wish I'd spent some more time in normal paid employment to support that process while I learned more of those basics, because there were times where I thought, I'm on my path, this is aligned, this is my purpose in the world, this is what I want to do with my life, this is what my soul came here to do, as in moving into the business side of things. It'll just pick up where nursing left off, as I said, even though I'd been doing it for a little while, and it didn't work. I fell on my face around it, because I went from getting my nice paycheck regularly to suddenly all the pressure and all my financial needs was suddenly placed on my business. And in hindsight, I look back and I think if I'd stayed in paid employment for a little bit longer, then maybe my business could have actually grown faster without that pressure to support me financially, for however long it needed to, and until I was able to organically generate the income that I needed to support myself as well. So it was a bit of a juggling act for me. And so I sort of dipped in and out then of paid employment to ease that pressure. But I think if I had to do it over again, I would stay in paid employment for longer and wait till my business much more um, was much more developed or more established before I completely let go of paid employment.
It's always a hard one to know, right?
Mm,
Because
mhm.
there's kind of two ways you can look at it. Sun Tzu in The Art of War says, burn the bridges and the boats that your army came in on so that the only outcome is victory. And I sometimes think that there is something really beautiful with that, which is make a brave step, make a brave leap. And I also see the wisdom in transitioning into a place where it's like
Yeah.
if you have a job, if you're out there and you have this amazing idea that just lights you up, that you know you need to bring into the world, that is that sole purpose calling in that business, there still needs to be practical structures that need to get set up. And sometimes those practical structures take a long time and aren't always intuitive. It's like setting up your backend systems, your email lists, your websites, and your many chats and your automations and DMs. And what I find when I'm mentoring people a lot of times is those tend to take longer than they think they're going to take. Some of them, the technical stuff can just be intimidating. And so it's like if you don't have someone to kind of help you and give you some guidance with that, sometimes it can just, it can be really hard. And then you start questioning that purpose when the income's not
Mhm.
coming in right
Mhm.
away. You're like, am I, I've done this all the time. Maybe this is not what I should be doing. Maybe this is not my purpose. It's not what the universe has called me to do. And then you
Yeah.
question yourself.
Mhm.
So something that I really believe in these conversations about soul-led businesses, there has to be a sustainable business model that
Yeah.
is relevant to the world. And that
Yes.
second part gets missed a lot of times. I
Yeah.
talk about this in the steps of soul purpose success course that I do. And it's like, if it's not relevant, if we love it and we're like, this is so important, like this is so important to me in the universe and the world, but it's not relevant to people, then it doesn't take off that well.
Yeah.
So it's interesting to hear you talk about, in hindsight, which is always 2020, as they
Yeah.
say, maybe I could have, kept a stable income while I was building more things on the back end, moonlighting at
Yeah.
nights and the weekends. And then when it gets to that tipping point where you're like, oh my gosh, my job is getting in the way of my business, I
Mhm.
have to let go of it or I have to
Mhm.
cut it down. Um,
Mhm.
yeah,
Mhm.
really. What were some of the hardest parts for you, Lauren? Because you said I was not a business owner. I had to learn you had to learn everything yourself. And
Mhm.
first of all, congratulations, you did it. So I just want to send you that reminder of like,
You.
yeah. But what
Yeah.
were the parts that were hard that might be hard for other people too?
I think definitely the tech side of things can feel very overwhelming.
Yeah.
Even though as a nurse, like I was exposed to tech, like I worked in intensive care environments. So I was used to dealing with a lot of new technology and new equipment and things like that. I wasn't afraid of computers, but I think as a business owner, especially in today's day and age where there's new platforms and programs and things coming out all of the time, um, for me, I found that quite overwhelming. It was like, what do I use? And even choosing like an email platform, like I think I've been through 3 or 4 of them now for different reasons, but I remember to start with, I'm like, "Oh, I'm just gonna use this one because that's what such and such used." Um, oh, are we still there?
Great.
Oh, we're back.
I think we're back. Can you see me? Amazing.
Yes.
I
Yeah,
apologize. We had some technical difficulties and
that's
we're back
okay.
on. So you're just talking about, you're like, which email program do I use? And
Yeah. Yeah. It was really, yeah, I found it overwhelming because I think there's this, I don't know, something in me. And as I've learned with other business owners as well, where there's this, like this fear of, I think, making the wrong decision when it comes to tech. Like I'm going to choose the wrong program or the wrong platform or something like that. Whereas I've learned that things can be changed if need be. If it doesn't work, you can change it. It's not this life or death decision. That probably come from my nursing background actually, where some of my decisions were life or death. But I realized in business, no, it's very few decisions, if any, are life or death. And so I learned then that, okay, look, I'm just going to start with this email platform and see how it goes. And then I used that for a while. And then, as I said, I moved to some other ones. But yeah, I think yeah, just the amount of choice and decisions when it comes like to having a business. And yeah, and that tech, as I said, was quite overwhelming for me.
yeah, I mean, you're not the only one. I think like, and yeah, sometimes you just got to make a decision. But many times when you start on a platform, you end up getting stuck with that platform because you're building all the things on the platform. Like for right now, I started with my designer started with a certain uh, email builder. And so I built everything on it for a year and a half. And now I'm
Hmm.
like, I think I've outgrown this. I need to move something else. And it would take me so much time to do that I'm just not going to do it. Right.
Yeah.
So now I got to work within the constraints. So when I'm doing mentorships, often what you're talking about is one of the biggest pain points for entrepreneurs, especially ones that are have soul led. That a lot about it is flow and connection and being with others. That the tech is just like it's just not fun and it can be a block to the
Yeah.
business. And it's much easier when I always get these amazing testimonials when they come back and it's like, it was so great. You just set it up for me and it worked, or you just told me use this, this, and this, and it's been great. So
Mhm.
sometimes like it's important to just, is there people out there that you can get that can, even if they're not doing it for you, they can just say, use this, this, and this. This is
Yeah.
probably your best bet because I've tried them all for the last, I did software training for 20 years. So I've
Hmm.
seen all the software from the beginning. So sometimes it's nice to have that masculine, like,
Yeah.
there.
Yes.
Lauren, what were the parts that really flowed? So maybe the tech was on the difficult. What were the parts of your business that flowed really easy and help you feel like this is it? I need to keep going. Like my heart's in it, and maybe you're helping people in a really beautiful way.
Yeah, I think a big part of it for me was the intuitive flow of things. I think because I was connecting to souls, like that process to me was so powerful, and I could literally see on, with the person in front of me or across the Zoom screen, I could literally see before my eyes like a shift in their energy or something that I could feel. It was like some kind of like evidence for me that what I was doing was helping, along with the feedback. So it was that. It was definitely like the feedback that I was getting from the work, even though sometimes I thought I was going crazy. But
Mm.
I think the deeper thing for me is how I felt and still feel when I do this work. That to me, like this feeling of purpose, of satisfaction, of um, fulfillment, even is what I think. Yeah, what really flowed for me, and I think was it has a huge um yeah, like a just a really big part of what continued to like propel me forward or to keep me committed to the journey when there were times where it was just all too much, or the nurse in me is like, you're going crazy, like you've got an active imagination. But yeah, so it was the feedback as well as that inner feeling like in my own heart with
Yeah.
how it felt to be doing this work, which I felt a little bit when I was working as a nurse, but no, it was more surface level then. It's like I was kind of on purpose, but not quite. Whereas this work feels like a much deeper heart energy that I feel around doing it, if that makes sense.
Totally makes sense, you know? And I think over time, sometimes we can get into something and being like, oh, this is great. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And then it's like a laser beam. You're focusing that light in more and more and more until you're like, wow, this is even more aligned, you know?
Hmm.
And I think it's cool because you do have that experience grounded in nursing, in that healthcare system, knowing that you can also identify. I'm sure that part of your journey has also been useful to the work that you're doing now.
Oh, absolutely. I feel like the my nursing career was my training ground, really, like an extra layer of education because it taught me the clinical physiological process of babies coming to the world, but it also and that really I think grounded my journey then around connecting with the journey of the soul and the communication with the babies. And I feel like they were talking to me. They found me. It wasn't something I went out and thought I'm going to talk to baby souls. Like it wasn't that wasn't a conscious decision for me. And so just being surrounded by thousands of babies, like, and then every shift, it really was able to, I guess, hone in my intuitive abilities, even though it was weird having a foot in each world when you're trying to look like a normal nurse in a hospital. But it really helped me. And I'm so grateful for those 20 years because it gave me not only the exposure to babies, but it also helped me to sort of test my intuition a little bit as well because I could find the clinical data, I guess, to back up a lot of what I was sensing as well. That would, the results of scans or X-rays that would come later after I'd had the feelings. That I guess gave me some more confidence as well that maybe I'm not crazy, maybe I'm not making it all up. So that nursing journey was a very important part, like an essential part, I feel, of me doing this work and continuing to do this work.
Can you tell us what that work actually is? As I was reading through your bio, and I was like, I'm curious. But this might be the first time I've even heard of anyone doing work like this. So, can you just tell
Yeah.
me and the listeners what exactly is it?
Yeah, and I will say that this has also added another layer of difficulty to my business because people are like, what is that? Like, I haven't heard of this before. So I've had to go into like an education or explaining that connecting, because when we think of spirit or mediumship, for example, it's usually about, yes, to a degree, like souls who are here, but it's mostly focused on the other end of life. It's like after death, um, grandmas and grandpas that have passed away, or, all of these things. There's not been that focus on like the souls like incoming. It's more those who have been and then left. And so the way it works for me is that I started connecting with these little babies that were in front of me who were in intensive care, and I started hearing, seeing, feeling things around them. And then it expanded from there to the point where we'd get a call from the labor and delivery ward, for example. So, and then I'd start to pick up on that energy. And then it started to go into babies who were not even conceived yet, where I can tune in through the mother's energy field, or sometimes the partner's energy field, or sometimes one of the other children's energy field, and sense souls who are planning to have a life here on earth in this lifetime, and tune in with what they had to say, as well as babies who came to the earth and then left again, say through miscarriage or termination or stillbirth. So it covers the whole spectrum, but essentially it's tuning into these souls, these incoming souls on this side of the beginning of the lifespan, if you like, and tuning into what they have to say. You know, after all, it's their journey. They're the ones that are coming and going from the earth. So it makes sense to my logical nursing brain that these souls have the answers to the questions that we're asking, you know? So yeah, that's kind of it in a nutshell. It's hard to describe, which, as I said, is a big issue from the business side of things as well.
Yeah, you got to get your one-liner down really well.
Yeah.
Uh, well, Lauren, can you give me an example? Like, what has just what has one of these baby souls said to you? What have you perceived, or what have you heard? Can you know, without naming any names,
Yeah.
like I would love to hear because like this is new to me.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I can share a really, really common theme. I work with a lot with couples who are trying to conceive, and some have been trying for years and years and years, for example, to conceive. And it's like, I'm over 40 now, I'm getting older, the clock is ticking. And then all of these fears that society instills in us around, you know, women giving birth in their 40s and fertility declining, and, you know, all of these very real statistical things. Like I'm not denying that, but what like so consistently comes through from babies is that they are waiting for their parents to be older, waiting for their parents to be in their 40s, where they have more life experience, more emotional intelligence, more spiritual awareness, more connection with their own heart, their own truth. And it's like, that's the parent that I need for my journey, not you as a 20-year-old, for example, where you don't have that. So, and that really, I know for me, it really helped me to shift my own beliefs around, you know, conceiving in your 40s, for example. That, oh, like it's not that I've missed the boat or I'm doing something wrong or things aren't working or I've missed something. And look, to be honest, sometimes there are things that women can do or that have been missed or do need to be addressed physically, mentally, emotionally, energetically. But so often it's these babies, it's like, no, no, we're waiting for you to be in your 40s because then you can be the parent that I need you to be.
Mm,
So yeah, so that's just one example of the type of wisdom that can come through. And that's just, you know, looking at a baby, their perspective, like preconception, which then obviously gives parents, it can help them to take the pressure off or stop feeling like their body's failing them or something's wrong, and start to then trust in not only their own body and their own journey but in their baby's journey as well. So yeah.
mm. It's interesting, Lauren, when you were speaking about that, that the child, the unborn child is saying, I'm waiting for you to get older. I'm waiting for you to heal yourself and prepare
Hmm.
yourself so you're ready to be the parent that I need. I literally got goosebumps on that. So
Hmm.
it's interesting. Would you say that, you know, would it be true that you to say I work with couples trying to conceive to look at what their unborn child, you know, what if there's what their unborn child wants to say to them ahead of time?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's about being open to what these souls have to say. And to be honest, like my deepest passion is to give these children a voice. You know, traditionally, children haven't been seen and heard here, Earthside, right? I know all of this is changing now. But to me, like to be able to give a child in spirit, and they have a lot to say. They're not, it's very rare I tune in and there's crickets, right? So, you know, being able to give these children a voice. And that's a big part of why I left nursing, because I couldn't tell the parents of these babies that I was caring for, I couldn't tell them what their babies were saying because I couldn't do that as a nurse. It wasn't part of the policy, right? Um, but I struggled with that. But now it's, yeah, being able to share the wisdom of today's children with those who most need to hear it, which is their parents.
Beautiful, Lauren. Lauren, as we come to the end, I just want to thank you for your vulnerability and talking about the challenges and the amazing things that are happening. And if you're out there listening and this is something that sounds interesting to you, maybe you have, you know, you want to know what your unborn child is saying, you can find Lauren on Instagram at born underscore energy. And if anyone's out there and is an entrepreneur and wants some of the help with the techie stuff, I have a really amazing mastermind that we do that we exactly doing exactly what the pain point that you were talking about. So reach out to either of us. We answer our emails personally. We love to hear you on any part of your journey or if there's any ways that we can support you. So, Lauren, thank you for being with us. And everyone, have
Thank
an
you so much,
amazing
Joe.
day.
Thank you.